Hello ladies and gents, this is Gertine here, and I'm bringing you my Queen of the Damned Shadow Mages build. I know this is pretty meta for me actually, but I have quite a take on it. So, the main thing is the talisman. Appreciate not everyone is going to have this. If you don't have it, use 5 of the Black Shroud set, any 6 Charm Seal, preferably with something useful on it, and just use Enduring Faith. But if you do have one of these, you're in luck, because this build absolutely slaps. So we use this set, which is really nice. So the damage modifier on the first part of the 2 set is the same as Hellbent Commander, just for free. And then the third part of the set is why we're not made of paper like every other Necro build I see. And you can actually do tier 12 and not just constantly die, which is nice. It also resets the cooldown of your Army of the Dead, so you just permanently have Army of the Dead up, which gives you another 50% multiplier, which is basically Hellbent Commander again. So it's really nice. If you are playing with the Enduring Faith build, just drop it down a tier. It's about a tier's worth of damage, basically. So, standard gear. There's not much you can do with Necro, to be honest. It's pretty set in stone. The you've got the stack in damage on the boots, animation on amulet. Gloom is a really nice multiplier. Pact of Bone, obviously. There's some interesting maths with this one. Interesting to me, possibly not to you. But for the important parts you've got to know, if you have a mythic one, you need 54% attack speed and you need 30% critical strike chance. The reason for the crit is we run Litany of Death, which gives you 24%. So it's really nice. It gives us some flexibility, which means you can actually get your attack speed and get some nice modifiers, like without sacrificing too much stuff. Because the crit chance is that we need is so low. If you do have nice equipment with GA crits on them and stuff, you can actually change the crit on the weapon to 20% attack speed, which will really help you get to that 54% pretty quickly. But I don't have great gear by any means. I've literally just done a pit 20, which I'll stick on the end of this. I did forget to show the glyphs in it, but I remembered at the end. I restarted it to show you the glyphs, because otherwise I'll get a message from someone going, "Oh, you did that with boosted glyphs." They're literally level 100 glyphs. Where was I? So yeah, all this gear, pretty much all of it, I just made. So it's just post patch now, where I had a lot of mats. I just banged them in a cube and got the best I could. Like that has damage over time, which is terrible. That has impairment reduction, horrendous. Oh, and it's also indestructible, naturally. Also indestructible. Although it did get a nice in-roll on it first. And then for weapon, cooldown reduction, which is useless for us. So for your weapon, you'd be looking for shadow damage on all of these if you can get it. But again, it is what it is. Just aim for something useful, like maximum life is useful. But the setup I keep seeing people run is the 6 charm with 5 set Black Shroud and Azarath. And I mean, if you watch my 120 pit run, just watch how fast those mobs go, like unstoppable, and that Azarath's doing absolutely nothing. And then you don't have the minion damage, which is what, 110% with your perma Army of the Dead, and you don't have 5% damage reduction. It makes no sense to me. But some people just love to play glass cannon. But this season is literally stand in a circle and get loads of shit thrown at you. So this build makes so much more sense. But again, I would play Definitely do the Corrupting Reaper on tier 12 if you can, because she definitely drops 2 of these Pandemonium fragments. If you go lower than tier 12, she can drop 2, but she can also drop 1. And they're not the easiest thing to come by, so you might as well just do that one on tier 12. And also, I mean, if you've got half decent gear, you can actually just AFK it like I showed at the start. But sadly, you can't do that with other bosses because they will phase. But you can do it at tier 11, which is nice. You can just, if you've got a lot of keys to run, you literally just start the encounter, Alt-Tab, do whatever you're going to do, come back in a minute, or well, come back in 30 seconds and loot it, start again. So for our Book of the Dead, another thing I see is people sacrificing Reapers. So I don't get that either. That's such a tiny amount of damage increase. It's literally the same as like a glyph. Like the passive on a glyph. To lose half of your Reapers that do quite decent damage by themselves. They CC stuff, but more importantly, they keep things off you and your mages. So I definitely run Reapers. Don't sacrifice them. And then for mages, I also see everyone taking barrier. That is quite nice, and I get it. If you really want to do that, you can. But with this build, so I'll explain the fort in a second, we're really quite tanky already. I mean, having an extra like 30k barrier is not really going to make or break anything. I much prefer having the corrupting damage. It really does hit quite hard, and you can see if you watch the AFK fight again, when the boss gets to about 30%, its health just disintegrates. So that is quite a nice thing. The one I would sacrifice the Iron Golem because the 15% crit strike damage does help a lot, and the Golem's doing very little, to be honest. Although, if you are playing on a bit lower difficulty and your damage is really, really high, I would actually use this. And you have basically another, we're using Blight Whirlpool, which pulls things in. It basically does the same thing, which is quite useful. For our mercenaries, I'm using Rahir. If you do party with people, I would swap, well, I would put Rahir as your reinforcement with Bastion when you're injured, because that's quite a lot of stats to lose. But yeah, so 15% all res is great. Just makes you tanky basically. This season of being tanky is exactly all this is. And then you've got the damage increase, which is useful. Literally makes up for not sacrificing your skeletons. And then I use Alder for Field of Languish, just whenever I cast a skill in combat. Again, there's not really much else you could use there, but yeah, that's personal preference. And then for our skills, we are using mages, just pure damage and numbers. And then we're using Blight with size. Like, yeah, I mean, you don't, honestly, that does literally nothing. You could save the point if you want to put it somewhere else. And then Whirlpool, which essentially works like Corpse Tendrils. And then we're using Sever for mobility, which is, it's quite nice, honestly, because you don't need your essence for anything, really. So it's nice to have. It's not perfect. It's not like a sorceress. You're not going to be going through walls and stuff. But if you've got like a large space to cover that's quite open, you can really save some time. It's just reducing the cost. Again, that is pretty pointless. You could just remove that if you wanted to. But we don't really need the points anywhere else. And then obviously making it a mobility skill, which is nice. And then for our skeletons, we're doing damage bonus, because they do quite decent damage. You could get them to heal you if you want. I don't find I need that. Resolve on command, it's nice. Again, We don't need the vulnerable. So, and then Litany of Death, like I explained earlier. And then for our Golem, we want Unstoppable. And Commanding gives us Ferocity. And then Gargantuan, we don't actually need that because we're already capped, but it's nice if you're not quite capped yet, etc. You could also use Weaken, but we're already weakened, so it's a bit of a moot skill point. Gargantuan is useful because it says cast speed, it's actually attack speed, but it's also a second cap. So you have 100% cap yourself with your minions, and then this is a cap above that. So basically they're at like 220%. I'm assuming it DRs, but you know, to get the skill points in these is really handy because it increases this number, and the movement speed's great because it's like for clearing, etc. But to get there, basically you want plus minion on everything. Plus darkness is okay, but plus minion is better. So you want +3. Again, if you just lock out and drop a +4 like that, great. But you can also re-roll in the cube endlessly until you get a +4 as well, if you want to take it that far. But again, that's up to you. So, where were we? So for obviously, our minions are auto-applying these. So for our Iron Maiden, we've got Execute and Fortify, which is nice, and brings us back to the 4. We've got Vulnerable, so that's our source of Vulnerable. And then it gives it a stun. It makes it a Darkness skill, so we get the plus ranks. Decrepify, so that's our Weaken. 5% crit strike. So again, you could drop 5% crit if you wanted to, but I just don't like it. I like to be capped. You could also use this, but again, we don't have any cooldowns to refresh except Army of the Dead, which refreshes almost instantly. Yeah, Resolve. It's useful. We don't really need the movement speed. We're pretty much capped anyway. And then Life Tap, which again, is just a tiny bit of healing. It's not much else you could use, really. And then Army of the Dead, just 1 point. Oh, no, sorry. How many points is that? 10 points. So, the Violet Skeleton's quite useful. It freezes things. And then cooldown on it. Because the damage is pretty moot, to be honest. It doesn't really do much. But what we've actually got it for is this. So this works all the time regardless, I believe. Or it did last season anyway. I haven't played this enough to test it that thoroughly, but you have it up constantly anyway, so just press it. So your minions, due to the 2 set, every time they attack it resets like a second off the cooldown. So if you're attacking things, it's just instantly back up again. And then for our Paragon, we have Essence in our starter board, which is just a lot of crit strike. And then, bear with this board, it is a bit funky, but there's a reason for it. So basically, if you don't have the way this board is designed is that if you don't have much Paragon, you can rush nodes that are useful, like with you'd go up through and get Scent of Death, and then you'd come here and get Frailty, get this glyph, and then come down and get this glyph last. And then lastly, you'd fill out Cult Leader, because if you're just starting, you're not going to have 100% attack speed. But I'm assuming people at this point probably have Paragon, but that's the idea behind this board anyway. So this is with Abyssal, this Dead Razor with Cult Leader, Mage with Scent of Death, Frailty with Darkness, and that's what's covered on the Paragon. There's nothing funky here. The only thing I do have that I haven't taken is I don't need this attack speed, so I've moved it into just more life, etc. But if you do need that extra sort of 5% attack speed, you can grab that there if you've got the points free. So for your gameplay, guys, all you're doing literally is Army of the Dead and Skeletal Warrior. So job done. If you want to get a big pack together, just wild pull them in. You can command your golem, but again, the ferocity, we don't really need it. So again, you don't need to do that at all. So it's very, very easy. You can play it with just a mouse. It's just very chilled, very comfortable to do. I'm on T10 because I literally just recorded Mephisto for the video, but I quite comfortably play on T12 with this. It really is quite tanky. You've got 40% damage reduction on the chest, and then you've got that you're 15% from scent of death, so you're at 55, and then you've also got 35% of the reduced damage is taken by your minions as well. So essentially, it's like a better Enduring Faith, the damage reduction portion anyway. So you're quite tanky. You can die if you're stood in like a circle and stood in one of the circles and there's like falling swords on you and the lightning guy goes off on you and there's like fire stuff, then you know you can die, but it's honestly pretty rare. You've got to pretty much try. I mean, you can just sever out and sever back in to avoid some of it as well, and you don't really lose anything. So, you know, it really is pretty tough. So for your gems, I would do this. The majority of the damage is either poison, fire, or lightning. There is a new physical one, which does suck a bit, but I don't feel like it's worth trying to cover it really. You could, but the majority of it is these three, so there's only so much you can do. That's what I would do to cover it. For your main stats that you want your crit strike multiplier. If you can get like a GA crit strike multi, because you've obviously got the essence glyph, which is boosting it, and then you're also putting crit strike damage on both rings and your gloves. I put life on amulet because that's a lot of life. You could basically drop that from another slot. I think when you're dropping it from your gloves and your rings and stuff, it's almost like 2 items worth of life. So, and it's nice to be tanky. It's that kind of a season where, you know, we've got to be quite tanky. So, but again, I would try and go for, because you've got so little normal items in this build, you can do escalation sigils, which are really good for a lot of things, but they're really good for obols. So as it says, they're escalation. When you get to like the second and the third one, the amount that you get increases dramatically. So if you get to like a third tier 12 escalation sigil and you get obols, you're going to get like 15,000 obols, and the cap's 25. And then you can just spam for chests, and then you will genuinely get like a 2 or 3 GA chest, or several of them, with 15,000 obols. So it's quite easy to gear, honestly. Your amulet will take a little bit longer, but you know, I might do a little guide on how to craft these amulets and stuff, because they're not very difficult to do. I mean, that's a 1 GA amulet and it's pretty good. So, well, obviously it's 2, but it's the crafted thing, it's one of them. But yeah, so I'll leave you with the boss kill and the pit run, etc. if you want to watch that. So it's not going to deframe Barb or anything, but again, I don't know of any other build that can literally alt tab out of the main tier 12 encounter of the season. It's real comfortable to play. Oh, it's excellent for Helltide as well. It's really, really comfortable to play Helltide with. But I hope you guys enjoy it anyway, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Cheers.